The great
Pause.
has spoken.
Good morning and welcome to the land of Boz with Jeff Bosley.
Well, good morning. It is Monday, October 1st. Welcome to the land of Boz, everyone. I'm Jeff Bosley. If you're listening to this and now all of a sudden picking up your iPhone, looking at your dates and your calendar, and you happen to listen to yesterday's show, yes, I did screw it up. I said Sunday was Monday or Monday was Sunday, but basically I made a show for Sunday, September 30th. So freebie. So I'm going to try to remedy that. And here is the real thing that I guess we'll call yesterday's a test drive, but it is Monday, October 1st. So let's get to it. My day, as always, it just started out with working out, but one thing I noticed, and I always read this crap and it always pisses me off, but it's actually legit. I went to the counter at the gym, a gym which was completely devoid of humans because it is Saturday morning and nobody works out, which I love, but it also might show a consistency issue. That's here nor there, but something possibly needs to be considered. But I was kind of in a robot cyborg mode, just kind of lumbering about doing my thing, and it occurred to me, the guy at the counter, he's super friendly. He smiled and said, "Good morning, sir. Would you like a towel?" And I was like, wow. And again, this isn't Equinox where I'm spending $400 a month when I say that. Just a little disclaimer because I want people to know it's a simple 24-hour fitness, one of my favorites, one of my favorite locations, I should say. And I was like, yes, sure. And then I just instinctively, for some reason, I was like, thank you. Have a great day. I appreciate it, sir. And he smiled. And then I smiled back. And I was actually instantly slightly uplifted. I was actually already having a little bit better of a day right there. So that was an interesting observation. Maybe we should all try to do that in the mornings. Hell, if I can do it that was about 4:30 this morning. If I can do it then, anybody can do it any time of the day. So it's kind of a nice thing. You always read that stuff that says, try to listen to something funny. I'll actually do that on the way to the gym. I'll actually listen to, fail. If anybody heard that, sorry. I'll actually go to the gym and, on the way to the gym, I'll listen to, stand-up comics. So I'm kind of in a good humor, when I get to the gym and hopefully for the rest of the day. And then, that's about it. And then I got home, I did my obligatory man nap because it was already, a whole whopping 7 a.m. And now I'm obsessing over this show, trying to get it right. Already using a new program from the test drive show I made yesterday. And so far so good. I like this program better. I'm using Adobe Audition for those of you that are curious. But moving on, it's neither here nor there. Let's get on to the main chunk of the show with Today in History.
Extra, extra! Read all about it! Life story of Playboy Penny! Extra, extra!
All right, on this day in history, I find these extremely unique because they actually paint a huge perspective as far as where we've come and really what, I don't know, at least for me, in a day in the life of, we always make the comment about, first world problems, but forget that. Just think about how things were just different in this country as far as 40 to 50 years ago. Today, October 1st, 1962, it marks the day of the first black University of Mississippi student, James Meredith. And they actually had to bring in 3,000 troops to deal with the riots. How much of a load of bullcrap is that students rioted because this guy went to college? It's absurd. On a lighter note, 1953, many young boys' dreams were fulfilled. Adult men found needs and reasons to hide and escape into their man caves and go look at magazines that they'd stored under their mattresses. 1953, Playboy magazine, founded by the infamous Hugh Hefner, premieres on this day. And who was on the cover? Anyone? That is right if you said Marilyn Monroe. She was the cover model, and she was not revealing anything other than her arms and a little bit of cleavage on her sternum with the dress she is wearing. How times have changed. To defend myself, I think that is way sexier. She's wearing pretty much a black, what do people call them, a little black dress. She's actually wearing a very classy black dress. Probably at the time, the V-cut part was considered low for that time. But she is extremely sexy and extremely gorgeous in this picture, and less is more, women. I don't know about all men out there, but as far as me, I'm boring and old-fashioned. Less is more. She looks more gorgeous than if they revealed, 80% of her body. So thank you, Hugh Hefner, for that contribution to this world. 1908, the Model T. For those who don't know the Model T is, it was the first car, Henry Ford's car, and it only cost $850, less than rent. So that began our road rage way back when. Some small little funny ones, Cartoon Network debuts, and kids, back in my day, the Cartoon Network, that didn't exist growing up because they actually played Saturday morning cartoons. You would look forward to them all week. My mom would get not coffee. Started drinking coffee soon. She would get us donuts and cereal, and we'd have like sleepovers, and we'd wake up and just watch cartoons in our pajamas all day long. And I thought they only did that in movies, but no, I did it too. And as those days waned and were slowly disappeared, the Cartoon Network picked up the slack and created an entire network dedicated to cartoons. And for you boxer fans out there, 1975, 3 years before, well, that's wrong. 1975, the Thrilla in Manila, that's Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. It was an infamous boxing fight. If you don't know what it is, just Google some footage of the Thrilla in Manila. Muhammad Ali was an astonishing boxer. He was kind of the Michael Jordan of boxing, for those of you who need a comparison. Just kind of, he'll live on in infamy for what he did, despite who comes after him. The Tonight Show, Johnny Carson. I didn't know there was anybody before Johnny Carson, but apparently he took over as host. Moving on. Mr. Ed, a show about a talking horse. And this was before CGI. They actually shoved peanut butter in his mouth to make the horse smack his lips. Who would have guessed? And speaking of the Tonight Show, it got a new host in 1956, Ernie Kovacs. Didn't know that. 1 year later, I actually brought this up yesterday. I brought up the Honeymooners, one of my favorite shows as a kid, and it was considered a rerun then. So I was a weird little kid liking this old black and white sitcom, basically. It got its debut in 1955, and it actually started as some sketches on, I guess you could almost say it was from a Saturday Night Live-esque show called Dumont's Cavalcade of Stars. Blah, blah, blah. Moving on. Born on this day, Mr. Jimmy Carter. I just blanked. Habitat for Humanity. I believe he's the president that kicks that off. Done a lot of stuff for a lot of people. Mr. What is he doing now? Where will he show up drunk in the country? Randy Quaid was born in 1950 on this day. And I have to bring this up. Mr. Tom Bosley, 1927. Absolutely no relation to Jeff Bosley. He was an American Tony-winning actor for Happy Days and the Father Dowling Mysteries. He's the only Bosley I know that's not of my ilk of Bosleys. Every Bosley I've met thus far or know of is actually related to me. Yes, that includes the hair one, for anybody asking. We can get into that on a later time. And lastly, born on this day, the second to the last, Walter Matthau. If you don't know who Walter Matthau is, he was a funny, amazing actor, and I actually liked him more in the tail end of his career with Grumpy Old Men. He's an amazing grumpy actor, and I liked him mostly because he reminded me of my own grandfather. He's hilarious, and he is a grumpy old man, and he embraced it. And lastly, Henry III, King of England. Yes, he was born on this day in... excuse me, I'm not tired. He was born on this day in 1207. And that was a little bit to educate you on everything that happened on this day in history. All right, and here's a section of the show I dedicate to one of my closet passions that I'm actually not so in the closet about, my love for all things nerd. Nerd! That still makes me laugh. God bless the sin. Actually, that's not what you think it is. Coffee. Fueling the land of Boz since 1993. Yeah, that's actually when my mom first gave me coffee. So thank you, Mother. I appreciate it. Anyway, Nerd Talk. Jeff Bosley. Here is what I want to talk about. Avengers Infinity War. It's been out for a while, so this has spoilers. So if this is something you've yet to see, first, email fans@jeffbosley.com. Email me your address so I can come to your home and slap you in the face, because any self-proclaimed nerd should have seen this movie by now. But number two, yes, spoilers. So deal with it. Plug your ears, and when you hear the thunderbolt lightning clap sound effect, you'll know the segment's over. But I want to talk about Avengers Infinity War. I won't get too long-winded because I can get super passionate about it. But it is a god dang work of art. I am highly impressed with everything Marvel's done. Now, before people get all freaked out about plot and all that, it is a comic book movie, and you only have 2 hours. They've taken, at that point, I think 10 years to build this universe. Yes, a lot of stuff seemed rushed. One of the arguments is that Quill sure as heck loves Gamora a lot since we saw him last in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Well, they don't have time to develop tons and tons of backstory with all these people. I am willing to sacrifice the building of backstory to get all these people on screen together. And if anybody knows anything about movies, the fact they got these actors on screen, or at least tricked us to look like they were on screen with stand-ins and digital replacement, I'll take that any day of the week, because that's a gosh dang epic conglomerate of characters on screen. And they were patient about it. I just blanked on his name, the producer, Kevin Feige. He spent 10 years, if not obviously longer. He is this crazy, I just picture his lair, his office, of just with like strings and post-it notes, like some sociopathic mass murderer, of just plot lines and backstories just interconnected in his office with strings going from person to person and post-it note to post-it note. But it is good. I am ridiculously impressed, and I'm embarrassed and honored to say I have watched it. I just moved probably about 3 weeks ago into a new house, and I think I've probably already watched it 4 more times in the last 2 to 3 weeks. It's just good. You could turn your brain off, not because it's stupid, but you can just turn your brain off and enjoy the show. And because it consolidates a lot of the characters and storylines, you get your pick. Guardians of the Galaxy they're the kind of more comic relief characters in the Marvel, but they still, as you know, they still get their moments of good dramatic fun. And so every character matches what we know them for, so it gives you some diversity in the movie. So there's not like one type. It's not like like Thor Ragnarok was more lighthearted, whereas Thor The Dark World was dark. So Avengers Infinity War nailed it. Where did I about lose my... Oh, Captain America. I am in love with that guy, that character. Chris Evans nails it. The way they translated Captain America to the screen. I've also watched all the other Captain Americas more times than I can count since I've moved also. They nailed it. And when they reveal him on that the subway platform, that's my wake up alarm, is that music cue when he catches the spear from what's her name, that Thor's niece or daughter, I don't even know. When she throws the spear at who did she throw? She threw the spear at somebody, and that person dodged it, and Captain America caught it. And then there's this awesome music cue right there showing that our bearded, long-haired hero is there in the shadows to save the day. That music cue kicks ass. So that's actually my alarm in the morning. I have it hooked up to my stereo, so it blasts me, making me feel like I'm Captain America. He's a little bit more nimble and spry in the movie than I am when I hear that music cue, especially at 3 in the morning. But, it does its job. But yeah, as far as all the characters go and all the plots and all of that, it nails it. It's just a dang fun ride. You're invested, and then this has been bandied about countless on the internet. So if this is new to you, awesome. I'm happy to be the guy to deliver this. Think of the movie. If you've watched it, you're going to watch it again, or you're going to watch it now after this. I don't think I've actually spoiled much. Think of it as Thanos' movie, like a movie about Thanos, and all the other characters are the side characters. And it's very interesting. Speaking of which, nerd deviation. Thanos is a computer-generated character. Within 5 seconds of seeing him on screen, you don't question that he's interacting with live people. It's not like we're watching Who's Framing Roger Rabbit here, where you see a blatant difference between a human person on film and the cartoon character they've interjected. This dude is believable. The technology blows my mind, and I'm impressed as hell. But at the same time, with that that level of impressiveness, I'm making up words, but with that level of just awe, I'm also extremely pissed at DC and Justice League because they can make an entire character with striations in his muscles, hair fibers, veins that actually have like a pulse to them on like the close-ups on the neck of Thanos. They can do everything that makes it as three-dimensional can be, yet DC cannot get rid of a mustache on Henry Cavill in Justice League without making it look like he and Shrek had a baby. That was one of the many abominations, and I'm swing more favorable towards DC, Batman, and Superman. That's just me. But I do love Captain America, so I'm my own worst enemy. So that every time I watch Infinity War, I'm just like crushed because I watched them create Thanos, a digital fictional character, when DC could not get of Henry Cavill's mustache digitally because of the whole contract wars with Mission Impossible Fallout, which that could be another Nerd Talk Day, a movie review, because that movie rocked. Mission Impossible never really fails. You go there, they're good popcorn movies. Sorry for the dog barking in the background. But they are good popcorn movies, edge of your seat stuff. So, but it did make up for the mustache. Henry Cavill looked like a badass with a mustache playing the character he played. So spot on. But yeah, Avengers Infinity War. If you haven't seen it, go see it. If you like comic book movies, go watch it. If you haven't seen any other comics, Marvel movies, you won't necessarily be confused or lost, but you'll miss tons of good backstory. There's actually stuff online. I think CNET, of all sites, has a really good write-up as far as the order to watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe TV and movies in. Like, it breaks it down, as far as even what episodes of what seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to watch that intermingle with the timeline of the Marvel movies. So if you really want to go crazy nerd weekend and binge watch the crap out of some Marvel things, Google what order to watch the Marvel movies in, and I believe it's CNET. It's got a lot of red text and graphics. That's the one you want. But yeah, go watch Avengers Infinity War. Enjoy it. Look at my my hetero man crush, Chris Evans, playing Captain America, and you will not be disappointed. Damn good movie. So that brings us to the segment of the show. I've yet to title it, but it has something to do with my background as a Green Beret. So we will call this Green Beret Corner for now.
Those Green Berets, they're real badasses.
You scared, motherfucker? Well, you should be, because the Green Beret's gonna kick your big ass.
I eat Green Berets for breakfast.
And right now, I'm very hungry.
I can't believe this macho bullshit.
Yes, you had to listen to 2 clips. They're the only time Green Berets are mentioned in cinema outside of John Wayne's The Green Berets. So today I want to talk about people in situational awareness. Now, I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds and turn you into Jason Bourne in the next 5-minute conversation, but I want to we are not situationally aware enough as a society. And without getting into the arguments about the shootings that are going on and all that stuff, sadly, I say we, but I don't really mean me. I probably get complacent here and there, but this is more for the my end user who was not a Green Beret. So we, quote unquote, that's like when the nurse comes into the hospital and says, it's time for our sleeping pill. Makes no sense. She's not taking a sleeping pill. But we as a society are getting very complacent with our situational awareness. Now, obviously, there's an extreme. If you're so situationally aware, you're miserable and boring and can't enjoy the moment. That's obviously one extreme. But if you can hybrid that existence, all the better, because at the end of the day, the ability to be aware of your surroundings could honestly save your life. Years ago, I used to think that statement would be really melodramatic and grandiose, and sadly, the way the world is, it's not. The things that are happening, if you went back 5 or 10 years and told somebody that that's what would happen, they would say you're being melodramatic. That would never happen. I mean, a pressure cooker killing, or don't quote me on any of the statistics, but the Boston City Marathon, nobody would have ever seen that coming. I mean, you expect IEDs on tour and in combat, but not in Boston. And stabbing things, the bad guy, and that's the thing. As far as my situational awareness lesson, the bad guy will always figure out a way. That is probably my takeaway on this whole thing, is the bad guy will figure out a way. And we need to accept that. And again, I'm not getting on a debate as far as gun control and all that, because my point is we could have no guns. The bad guy will find a pressure cooker. I've seen how simple it is to make an IED. So until you outlaw speaker wires and garage door openers and fertilizer and all the other crap, a pressure cooker didn't require any sort of ignition source as far as like explosives. So until you outlaw, excuse me, not good. Until you outlaw everything, just know the bad guy will find a way. And so with that situational awareness, a perfect example is going to a movie. LA is a little odd because, at least for me, where sadly there are a lot of crazy people that have probably no malice in their as far as their intentions, but they're everywhere. This morning at the gym, and I'm not, again, we could go and hold another political debate as far as the homeless issues in America, but it's a thing people do that I've seen in LA where they'll get a gym membership because they can kind of sleep in a corner and it gives them a place to shower and clean up, which is pretty clever as far as I'm concerned. But this gentleman, not the most comfortable person to be around, but it is what it is, and that's part of situational awareness. And in LA, it's kind of weird because you're going to get numb to it, and that's when your complacency could, nip you in the butt. So with that, when I was in Colorado or small town Idaho and all that, the anomaly would be easy to spot. And it would put you on guard and on your toes, being situationally aware of what's going down. Here in LA and bigger cities, you start to get complacent and just kind of head down and don't pay attention. So what people need to do is be situationally aware. And I'm not saying that means think everybody in the movie theater is a bad guy, but be open to the fact that maybe one is. Colorado shooting, for example. I remember explicitly a conversation I had. It was one of the first major shootings in America. Don't quote me on the year. I believe it was at a Walgreens in Arizona. It was a senator or some sort of high-level government person was in line and got shot. And I remember that day going, all right, I'm carrying concealed legally everywhere I can. And I won't name who it was, but the person I spoke to said, Jeff, you're being melodramatic. That's not going to happen again, or something along those lines. Fast forward to today. I can't fathom the amount of, and I've talked to this about one of our guests, his name's Jesse. He's going to be on the show frequently, but I can't fathom the amount of lives I could have saved, or someone like me, if they had a gun in the theater at the Aurora, Colorado shooting, or if they had one at the schools that are going down. I mean, And again, this isn't a gun control debate, but my point is if that person, the people like myself that are, I don't want to say paranoid, but their situational awareness is a little amped from our experience, things would have at least had a slightly better outcome. And that's because of situational awareness. So go to your movie, enjoy it, but be aware of, here's my two things, people and exits. That's your thing. Enjoy your life. Don't be a walking ball of paranoia, but be aware of people and be aware of exits. You don't need to go all Jason Bourne, but it sure as heck doesn't hurt to know where, if your closest exit, just like when the plane, when they tell you your closest exit could be behind you, know that. Here's a blatantly, when I go to a movie, I take the farthest left seats near on an aisle because my right side, I'm right dominant, and for me that's more comfortable. If I see something happening, I can see it on my right side. For whatever reason, it is what it is. And that way there's nobody I have to bounce over to get out or seek cover or provide assistance. The only way to go is left. And that way I know my right side is cover, my left side is escape. As in cover, as in I can drop down behind the seats depending on what's going down. So that's just how I go to movie theaters. I always get a seat. It's a weird superstition, but I always get a seat in a column of 3. So the third one from the back or the third one from the front. So I always know where I'm at in the theater. And I always know where the exits are based on that. It's not hard to see them. They're big and brightly lit because of fire code. And then that way you can always see, especially if you're on the side of the theater, there's only really one place people can come at you is your left side, unless they come running down the crowded seats, which is going to be really easy to spot. So with that setup, okay, you have the people box checked. You know where people are. You can see if people are acting shady. And you know what? If you see something, say something. All too often, and there are reported stories and incidents where people felt like they were profiling or potentially being racist. And I get it. I would that would go through my internal filter initially too. But you know what? It's better to be wrong and embarrassed than wrong and dead. So, there's obviously the extreme of if you think everybody's a bad guy, you're going to live a miserable existence and drive people crazy. But odds are, if we could go back in time and see like the Aurora Theater shooter, odds are he was displaying a little bit of offness. I would bet something just seemed off. You got to be way in tuned to see it, because you always hear the story of like, oh, he seems so normal until after the fact, stuff like that. So that's your people. And as far as your place, always know your exits. And that's with anything, cafes, cafeterias. Like I said, the 3 takeaways from this are the bad guy will find a way. And because of that, be aware of people and be aware of how to get out or get to some sort of shelter or cover or concealment. Because sadly, in this world, no matter where you are, anything's possible. And, there's the great debate of living your life and not being holed up with a gun in a cave somewhere in Idaho. Yeah, that would suck too. But if you have the option to find that middle ground of living your life and enjoying it and being aware of those 3 things, you're going to set yourself up for success. You got to think like a bad guy. That's kind of a weird way to think about it. But another example, and I'll wrap it up, is like where there are gay pride parades or gay pride events. I'm not judging. I do not care. I have family members that are gay, lots of friends that are gay. I don't care. That's not the point. The point is some people do have problems with that. That is a target. Bad guys in the Middle East, and when we're chasing bad guys, you look at intelligence as to where they'll be, and you act on that intelligence based on where they'll be. That's the same for the bad guys. I don't care if it's in somewhere in the Middle East or downtown Florida. If a person is trying to find a target and they can Google the next huge event, it is that event or those people or whomever have done 90% of the work for the bad guy. If we could, if on deployments the bad guy would post an event they're going to be at, like if they're like, oh yeah, all of us that are doing this thing that is bad or what deemed bad, and we're all going to be here today at this time of day and going on running a marathon. Wow, might as well just sit back and then they did all of our work for us to catch them. So think inversely. If a bad guy has an issue with gay rights, or if they're really effed up and that's their belief, and you're in that march, be aware that you literally are a target, or literally potentially a target. So be aware of that. Be aware the bad guys they might be crazed and insane, but they're also not stupid. So that's my takeaway today on, nobody asked me that, but that's my takeaway, or my thing I want you to go home with is on asking a Green Beret is bad guys will find a way. Be situationally aware of people and exits. Thank you. All right, moving on. This is my actor corner, and today we are going to be talking about some audition tips and tools and tricks.
Well, I'm an actor, right? So I got to keep my emotions right at the surface,
All right, today's stuff I want to talk about is for the audition process. For those of you, I'm going to assume you have a little bit of experience. The thing I want to pass on is what you do with the script, also known as the sides, to help set yourself up for success when you go into that audition room. Odds are you got those lines sometimes moments before you went in, or the day before, sometimes days before, hopefully. But either way, if you are the school of thought that you're going to do your best to be memorized but kind of not memorized, this trick is for you. And also assuming this is your printout. You're not doing this on the one sitting in the office. So what I do, step one, read it without doing anything. Just read it like you're reading a book. Read it for entertainment value. Don't overthink it. Don't do anything like that. And this is obviously, a lot of the other stuff goes without saying. Do all your actor homework and preparedness and build your character and all that stuff. But this is just a thing I do to mark up my sides to help with the performance in the room, because if you don't have the time to worry about the lines, or you're losing your character because you're stressed about the lines, this is kind of what that's for. So what I do is I pick a color for my lines that I'm used to all the time. And for me, it's blue. So I always have blue means my line. So it's quick and easy to look at quickly when you're doing your audition, and look down, find your blue, and move on. So I actually don't highlight my lines. I put a box around them, because at a quick glance, if you have colored highlighter over the black ink text, it's hard to read. Whereas if you've essentially circled or boxed your lines with like a blue border, you can look within that border and read the lines that are black on white paper. So there's an easy, quick contrast where every second counts when you're looking down at your lines. So I box my lines with my blue highlighter. And then secondly, the other thing I do for the lines is I highlight orange the cue sentence or the cue words prior to my lines of the other characters, and only the one right before my line. I don't care about if there's two other characters speaking before the character that cues my line. I don't care about their lines. That allows me to look up and react to those lines and listen. With a quick glance down, I can see, and this is where I do highlight the lines of the cue line character in orange for me. I use orange. I actually highlight it. I don't do the box thing. I don't really have an argument for that one. But I highlight maybe the last sentence, starting ideally with a cue word that's unique to that sentence. So I can, when that line comes up, and let's say the word is perpendicular. That's a big word. When I am looking forward and listening and actively acting and listening to the reader, and I hear the word perpendicular, I can glance down real quick and find that in orange, and then quickly skip to my lines after that, because my cue line and cue word was spoken, and I look and find it in the orange highlight, the word perpendicular in this case, and then I can skip down and look at my lines after that, which I should already be really familiar with, so I can look at them, get them, and then look back up, and then when they finish that sentence, that cue line sentence, I can then say my line relatively word for word or dang close, depending on how much preparation I had. So I've I boxed out my lines with a blue border. I've highlighted the cue sentence with choosing specific words or phrases within the cue lines in orange, and I've highlighted them. And I've done that throughout the whole script. And then the other thing is a lot of scripts have a lot of bull crap we don't need. This is a lot of new actors make this mistake. They're written, sometimes scripts are written for the cameraman, sometimes they're written for the director. So a lot of the stuff isn't going to matter in the audition room. You know, if it says picks up glass and drinks it, you're not going to do that, and you don't mime it, as far as my school of thought. So it doesn't need to be on that script, but they're not going to write you a special script just with lines. So take a black Sharpie, and I have one of those big black ones you see like at shipping centers, like a huge felt-tipped one that if you're in a small room, you'll get high. And make sure your sides aren't under it when you use it, or something you care about, because it's going to leak through the page a little bit if you use one of those. But I then black out stuff that doesn't matter. Lines that say stuff like, you know, Steve picks up his glass and drinks the drink. That doesn't need to be there. Kind of make note of it so it helps paint your environment, but you don't need to see it under the stress of getting your lines right and keeping your eyes up talking to the reader. So black out lines and stuff that doesn't matter. I also black out the other characters' names. Any word that I don't need to know for my performance in that audition room, I black out. Their name, I should know my name, so I black out my name. Stuff, you know, that says like scene 2, anything. The stuff you black out, make note of, because it's good to know for the character and building the world. You know, like if it says interior dark room, you need to know you're in a dark room, because that's going to have an impact on your choices. But once you kind of got your world painted, black it out, because you don't need to see that when you're looking for lines, or in an ideal situation, you've got the lines and all that, but you just kind of have a brain fart, because let's say you're quote unquote in the moment so much that you're just feeling it and it's working really good. But then because of that, and because you're not 1000% memorized, you kind of brain fart and have to look down in character, find your line. It's nice to not look through all this other crap that has nothing to do with the audition scene. You know, like picks up drink, thunders, all those things that are good for the character, but not good for, oh crap, I lost my line. Get those out of the way with a black marker. So that is my acting tips. Get the sides, read it to familiarize yourself with it, and then edit and color crayon the crap out of it so it's very user-friendly for that audition, which is where you're going to be your most stressed. And lastly, before we get to our today's guest, fitness. It's stressful. People overthink it. Yet it is probably one of the major things as far as media and advertising, anything and everything that has to do with the world lately. Fitness is one of them.
Okay, I'm going to get a Bowflex. I'm going to commit. I'm going to get some dumbbells.
You know you can't eat dumbbells, right?
So today for fitness, what I want to talk about is more of the conceptual approach to fitness. And I thought about this morning. For those of you who know or don't know, I spent a lot of my life prior to the military and firefighting kind of working out like a bodybuilder. Pretty much for looks. Anything as far as health benefits was just an incidental bonus. And then when I was in the military as a Green Beret, and then actually as a firefighter, I did what some people may cringe at, but to me it makes sense to call it functional fitness. I worked on power and strength and endurance and cardiovascular and all that. Some people do it via CrossFit, Jim Jones, cross training, whatever you want to call it. And to each their own, whatever it is, it is. Today I am doing a Jim Jones program. If you don't know what that is, jimjones.com. They are, their notoriety came from, they were the trainers for all the guys on 300, Gerald Butler, all the guys in the DCU movies, Ben Affleck. I think Ben Affleck, don't quote me on that, but I know Henry Cavill for Superman. And they're solid people. I know a handful of them. I'm privileged to be working with them, and their workouts are awesome. And I do basically what I've finally done is, as I'm upping in the years, I'm valuing diversity and enjoyment. Every day at the gym isn't going to be a day you wanted to be there, but do your best to set yourself up for some happiness, I guess. Do what you enjoy. And for me, what I do enjoy is I do enjoy lifting weights, but I also enjoy the Jim Jones workouts. There's, it's a lot of circuit style training, a lot of what we may call quote unquote functional fitness. And it just came to my attention today. I was really tired, only got about 4 hours of sleep. Didn't want to be at the gym at 4:45, 5 o'clock. But I was really enjoying the workout today. It was a Jim Jones workout, and I was really enjoying it. And that made me realize today I want to pass on to y'all that work out somehow the way you like it. And I've said in other platforms, diet is the most important part anyway. So the working out is enjoy yourself. People, if anybody that follows Pauline, she had hamstring surgery and still lost weight and still stayed shredded because of her diet. I've had, anybody that knows me, I've had more surgeries than I can count, and I stayed relatively shredded in all of them, especially a very huge one that had me bedbound for a long time, purely because of my diet. So throw in the workouts that you like, because there's no workout that's one miracle pill workout. The stair climber isn't going to be the deciding factor over CrossFit, or the deciding factor over Jim Jones, or the deciding factor over bodybuilding, or yoga lattes, or whatever. There's not one thing. It's calories burned and calories consumed, and living in a slight caloric deficit if you're trying to maintain a lean body, because your body wants to have fat. So that's my message today is for fitness and working out, find the thing you enjoy and do that. If surfing, I've surfed and I was smoked. There's exercise. Go do that. If it's Jim Jones or CrossFit or running on the beach, do that, because I would rather you get, and I use this phrase very loosely, risk maybe not getting as many benefits from your exercise by exercising more frequently and consistently than doing what is quote unquote tried and true. Tried and true, and I use that again loosely, is lifting weights and adding cardio workouts here and there. A lot of people don't like that. So cool, go do something you do enjoy and that you'll do more often, because if it's something you don't want to do, odds are you're going to be undisciplined and slack. So that's my little fitness, I keep saying corner. I got to come up with names of these things. So everybody chime in, email me, fans@jeffbosley.com, and help me design this show and what to call these segments. But that was fitness today. Now here is the part of the show where we talk to my friends, and there is no rhyme or reason as to who does what they talk about, or what they're on the show for, thus providing you, the listener, probably much needed variety. So here's one of my friends.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
And that first friend I'm speaking of is a good friend of mine, Scott Seegz. Filmmaker and former roommate, still current friend. We met, he hired me for a movie, and we've been Los Angeles besties ever since. What's up, buddy?
Oh, the same old bunch of chaos that is our daily Los Angeles lives.
Saturday. Well, I'm pre-recording some of these, so a little reveal behind the curtain, ironically, in the podcast called The Land of Boz. What have you been doing this morning on a Saturday morning? You should be sleeping in.
Well, I did technically sleep in. I'm not going to get into details, but today I was in a bed and I was sleeping, and I slept longer than I normally do, and that's where I'll leave it.
Cool. All right. Well, on the note of a little bit of jealousy and pride, we'll move forward. What you got for us today?
There's many things in general that I feel like during these segments I'm going to want to talk about and or rant about. And you said I could have a little rant corner, so I'm going to have a little bit of time to rant about something.
Yes.
Right now, that something is people's inability to communicate properly. And that mostly extends to just responding to a text message. And don't get me wrong, I am guilty of this myself, because frankly, let's be real, it doesn't take much to pick up your phone for 2 seconds and respond with, I'm busy.
Well, now with iPhones, they have that tap back feature. So now all it takes is upwards of 3 taps to at least acknowledge acknowledge receipt of a message.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can just hold down on the message and give a thumbs up.
We're running out of excuses.
And I totally get, but at the same time, like, a lot of us in this field, we're very busy, and it's not so much that we we say, I'm sorry, I can't talk, I can't respond, or like, you could have picked up the phone and said I'm busy. It's like, no, I was really busy, you don't understand. And really, it's like a priority thing, because you have certain priorities, and you only have so much time to do certain things. So sometimes, not responding to somebody is favorable if that same time that you you could use that time to respond to somebody is the same time that you get to maybe take 2 minutes for yourself to chill.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, for some reason, people on the receiving end of that, there's a handful of people I know personally that somehow fast forwards to a translation of, oh, this person is consciously going, I am not as important as what he's doing. That's not the case.
Right.
That doesn't automatically imply the inverse of prioritization.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what kills me about it. And, by the way, how clean do you want me to keep this when I talk? Like, because, I cuss like a sailor most of the time. And,
I'm doing it. I'll cut this section out. I'll edit it out. But I censored the F-bomb I dropped, and a sound clip that has an F-bomb. But stuff, I try not to swear too much because I want people to like play it in their car with maybe their kids. But the shit has been dropped. I think ass has been dropped. Like probably stuff you could see maybe on like NYPD Blue.
Sure. Okay. I'll steer clear of.
It doesn't need to be G-rated. It can have R-rated twings, and we'll just roll with it.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying because I think most people take that as like a giant FU. They're like, oh, you don't want to talk to me? That's like a middle finger to me because I'm not important. Like, no, it's not that you're not important to me. It's just that, like, honestly, I might be preoccupied with something else. And, yeah, I could take time to, like, here's a perfect example I could give. If I'm editing, it's really hard to talk to me because I am tuned into what I am doing. Yeah. And, yeah, I am sitting in front of a computer. I could just pick up my phone and respond. But 9 times out of 10, I'm not even aware the phone has gone off.
Yeah, like, if you have your headphones on, too, there's no way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if I've got headphones on, I'm not aware it's gone off. And even sometimes without, it's just like the ringer could be on. It could be on the loudest setting possible. But if I'm editing, I am not there for it. I can't hear it. It's just out of sight, out of mind.
Well, and then here's the other thing is what did we, now that we have this weird communication biofeedback, what were people offended back before everybody had cell phones when they called and nobody answered? They're like, oh, they couldn't answer because they're not standing by the phone, and they didn't get all butthurt until they communicated with them the next time. Now that we have this link to our soul, a lack of communication is deemed as lack of passion or caring.
Right, exactly. And it's part of the bigger problem of like just generally because of our phones and how fast we can act. Things, it's instant gratification, and people are like, I want it now. And it's damn bad. Like, you can't always have everything you want right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to be patient.
Yep. Well, for me, especially, it's also geographical. Like, it speaks volumes to, like, just society. Like, if I'm trying to, my mom in Nebraska, obviously much slower pace, wants to call me and talk to me and or text me. She's got some time. I could be road raging in Los Angeles traffic, no hands-free device in my truck that's cowboy loud. There's no way I'm answering that phone or texting because lives may be lost. So, like, it's very, like, I mean, it's literally geographically dependent also. I mean, you commute 9 times out of 10 on your bike. You're not going to, like, text into a mailbox.
No, exactly. Yeah, I bike a lot. And if you give me a text message while I'm on my bike and I happen to be at a red light, I'll probably respond to it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I hear the beep in my ear and I go, well, somebody's trying to get hold of me. They're going to have to wait till I'm done.
Exactly. So what do you foresee?
I am on a bicycle. I cannot respond to you right now or I might get hit by a car.
Yeah. So what do you foresee? Do you, I always joke about, like, here someday, God willing, I get to a point in my life where other people answer calls for me. I have a flip phone 4 feet from me that I had with track phone, and I just let my minutes expire and I try it and I try it and I try it. But I think when you're in the depending on your business, if you're dependent on that phone, it's a slippery slope of, are you using this for dependency? Because again, actors and filmmakers and lawyers all existed before cell phones, and they were all successful,
Yep.
And I say that, and I'm a hypocrite 5 minutes from now, but it's
It's just everything moved at a slower pace.
Yeah,
generally.
For sure.
And that's the way it is. And people are still adjusting to the fact that, just because everything else moves faster objectively doesn't mean that everything should.
So, So what are Scott's? What is Scott's phone etiquette? What is your prescribed etiquette for returning messages in a timely manner, or what are the timelines? Do you have what would your utopia be when it comes to returning?
I think in general, here's one thing I will say. If you are a person who has your read receipts turned on, that's even
You're an idiot.
more frustrating. And you're an idiot, because that's even more frustrating. That means I sent you something, I can see that you looked at it, and then you didn't respond for like days.
Yeah.
So that's when it becomes like, okay, this feels like a giant.
And for those of you who
F2
don't know, maybe you are like I think probably maybe some of my older family members. There is a feature, I think by default it is on iPhone specifically, and you have to go to settings and go down to messages and go down to turn read receipts on or off. And what we're talking about is, for some reason, if you don't know, God willing, this changes your life. By default, if I send you a text and that by the phone's default setting, when you open up your app and it pops up, it shows me, it says the word read, R-E-A-D, and the time it was read. So you can't lie and you can't escape. You might have glanced at it in your car, so there could be that scenario. But do know you are a liar if you said I didn't see it for 2 days.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see this. I'm like, fuck you. Yes, you did. Sorry.
It's okay. I got a sensor beep.
Yeah, but this whole communication thing, like the bottom line, the reason I brought it up in the first place is, yes, I understand and I get it, but for me, I'm dealing with one particular, actually a couple people. I don't want to get too specific in case they hear this, but there is a person that I know who we get along well whenever we're like in person hanging out and everything like that. We've worked on set many times, and this person has expressed interest in like, yeah, we should just generally work on more stuff and like hang more and like do things because we have similar interests. Not like a date thing, man or woman. It's just like a hangout.
Yeah.
Like, we're friends. Let's actually take the time to do things that friends do. And then nailing down plans with this person is impossible. Like, I'm talking, this person has probably rescheduled on me minimum 15 to 20 times.
Dang.
Over the span like 6 months, basically. So, and it's always some other...
I haven't done 15 things in the last 6 months, let alone rescheduled 15 things in 6 months.
Right, and it's always like the same thing, honestly. It's just like, oh, we're planning to do this thing, and it's like, oh, I can't do it for whatever reason. And it's like, okay, and a couple of those reschedules are on me for sure, but overall, it's on them. And I'm like, I finally ended up telling this person like a year or so ago, hey, look, I understand things get busy. I know how it is. Like, and frankly, I understand how LA is. So if you were just being polite, I totally get it. And we don't have to hang out or even talk. Like, there's no obligation here, and I'm not offended in the least. I completely understand. But if that's what it is, let me know so I can, like, stop bothering you. About, hey, let's hang. And they felt super bad, and they, like, apologized profusely for being so bad and, like, getting back to me. And, like, that's not it at all. And I'm like, okay, again, you don't need to save face if that's how you feel. I'm literally not offended. I get it. They're like, no, really. I'm like, okay. But now, in the year since, have I actually been able to hang out with this person? No, because the same thing happens every time. This person was even somebody I was trying to get on our crew for the shoot. And they, had all the appearances of like, yeah, I'm totally interested. Yeah, we should totally talk about it. Like, that'll be great. And then actually getting to meet with the person, nope, doesn't happen. Doesn't respond to messages. Like, send messages back and forth. We'll respond like once every couple of weeks, and then nothing. So it's like, okay, I get it. I get busy life. I get the LA life, actor life, film life. You're busy.
Yeah.
Don't offer plans if you don't actually go through on them. That's just being an asshole.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. I mean, I can speak volumes as far as that is like being honest with yourself. You might not have malicious intent with your person you're trying to schedule with, but if you're not honest with yourself as far as the time you're willing to give, and that's the catch-22 with being tied to our phones and having instant gratification and complete communication availability 24/7, is either you need to be honest with yourself as far as if you have the time or are willing to make the time, because if after a year, all signs point to you aren't willing to make the time. And then secondly, because of the technology in your hand, you could also use it as a tool. Like you and I couldn't meet today physically. We're using this technology we're bashing as a way to still get said mission accomplished. Speakerphone.
That's true.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, LA does suck in that. I mean, you and I know intimately that, you know, I've had relationships fail just due to time distance apart, you know, geographically.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like her and I couldn't continue dating because I lived up in like Simi Valley and she lived on the coast. I mean, that's an hour drive. Not going to happen. And so
sorry,
it's,
that's too far.
you gotta, if people aren't willing to, if people are willing to use their phone religiously, they could also use it for good, not evil.
Yeah, and see, the thing that bugs me the most is, like, I'm not even so much upset about the social aspects of, like, being friends and not being able to follow through on the stuff. I'm more frustrated with, like, the film portion, like, because professionally speaking, if you're telling me that you're on for a crew and you're on board and, like, yes, we're going to be, I'm like, okay, I'm going to put your name in here for this.
Yeah.
That's a big deal to me.
Yeah.
Like, not even respond.
Yeah, I could care less if somebody's a flake personally. I mean, in this day and age, it's hard the lines get blurry between personal and professional because you can't hide anymore. But yeah, if somebody's a flake personally, but they show up professionally, you know, whatever, that works. But when that starts, I mean, that's my military background too, is like my ex wife, she for some reason thought tardiness was acceptable to work. And my brain didn't work on that. I was like, okay, personally, be late with your friends and all that, but I can't wrap my mind around them as people that can't find that distinction. That dude could flake on you as a person all day long, but he could be a hard-ass worker and show up on time. Fine. You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, you know, flake on me on a personal basis, fine. Okay, cool. Like, I get it. I understand. I'm not even really offended. Like I said, we don't have to hang out.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Your life will continue.
Professional basis, don't mess with that aspect of it. If you're a person I value and I think that you're good at your job and I want to work with you, great. But the minute you start, like, dropping these responsibilities, like, it doesn't matter, or maybe you're busy, I get it, but you could at least say so.
Yeah.
Say, look, I know I said I was interested, but, like, I'm swamped and I just can't do it. Like, okay, great, I completely understand. But come on. Like, that's my main rant. It's just like, if you don't want to make plans with a person, don't lie. Just don't make the plans.
Yeah.
Say, I'm sorry, I'm busy, or frankly, like, I just don't have the time, and no offense, you're not a priority.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can all learn something from that. I mean, you've known me long enough to know I'm not maliciously hypocritical, but massively guilty of all said part of it. Actually, I respond like a ninja. However, my follow-through is kind of his weak sauce.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is, like, follow-through is whatever, because that ranges person to person, especially with social plans. You can't get too mad.
For sure. Well, I'd rather get a text from somebody saying, got your text, can't reply. That'll buy a person a week. I'll give them a week after that.
Yeah, exactly. You tell me you can't talk, I'll leave you the hell alone until you're ready to talk.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Balls in your court.
But again, like I said, I'm guilty of doing these same things with certain people, and it's not because it's those people. It's just I'm like, you know, I got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to keep my head above water. So again, it's like it's two-sided coin. I understand where people are probably coming from, but I think everybody in general should just do better at getting back to people and communicating, because when communication breaks down, that's when everything else starts to break down.
You have two ears for a reason. Well, we're going to wrap it up. That's How to Be a Culturally Sensitive Social Butterfly by Scott Seegz.
Hey, you know what? This is one of my more sensible rants.
I can't wait. Yeah, we're easing into it. This is the freebie. You'll hit him with the full price drugs here later.
Indeed.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, no problem. Let me know if you want me to add anything else. You know, I'm happy.
All right. Bye. And that concludes the inaugural show of The Land of Boz with Jeff Bosley. Seriously, thank you for listening. Enjoy this freebie. And here's a little bit of business stuff that you all will value and appreciate. Again, patreon.com/Jeff Bosley. Tell your friends your subscription puts food on my table, and I promise to give you your money's worth. Also, if you want show ideas or show input or just general feedback or actually have segment ideas or names of segments or any sort of interactive stuff, I want you to be part of this. Email fans@jeffbosley.com, or on Patreon, you can actually go and comment just kind of like a Facebook timeline per each episode. So you can actually go to that episode and comment, and I'll follow that too. So totally interactive. This is all for you. I know you are literally my customer, so it means the world to me that you've taken your time and listened to this, and I would be a moron if I didn't accept your criticism or your design or your comments or your compliments. So thank you so much. Go forth, kick ass, conquer, be relentless, and I will see you here tomorrow. Adios.